Good evening, all. I'm Peter Greer with Greater Diversity News, and I am co hosting a new podcast entitled Doing Business in the Motherland. My co host is Gary McCant, and our first guest of this new venture is Darren Britt, a member of the African Diaspora Development Institute, an organization that I met him in. And Darren, I'm going to start out by asking you to introduce yourself, give us a little background information, and tell us how you got involved in ADDI.
Certainly, certainly. Well, thank you for having me on this initial episode. And again, my name is Darren Britt. Currently live in the Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina area, relocated from New York about 17 years ago. And I've been in the financial industry for about 25 years now, mortgage banking, and then the last 2 years, commercial loans. Came across ADDI and binge watching some of the content creators on the continent, and being caught in the algorithm and getting fed the content coming from the content from an African continent. Dr. Arikana kind of came up on my radar, and it was eye-opening for sure. If anybody's listened to Dr. Arikana, they can attest to she sounds like a young Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Louis Farrakhan. She's a generational, to me, orator and very well versed on the issues, the historical as it pertains to the current situation on the continent and what we can do as a community, as a culture, to help move the continent forward.
Tell me what you're holding there in your hand.
Dr. Arikana's book, Africa 101. Hopefully it comes through on the camera. I think my camera is kind of, is it picking
It's
up?
going in and out, but Africa 101 can be found on the website. The website of ADDI is ADDI.org. Gary, you want to jump in and ask him any questions or make any comments?
Sure, Peter. First of all, Darren, it's good meeting you, and want to hear more about your experiences doing business in Africa. If you can just give us a snapshot.
Okay, so I'm actually in the process of that now. I plan on making my first trip to the continent this year, probably July of this year, but I've already put a deposit on some land. I came across another gentleman from the Atlanta area who's been giving trips to the continent over the last 10 years or so.
Right.
Ghana, Tanzania, just recently did a trip to South Africa. So he's been doing it for quite some time. And he comes from that Marcus Garvey mindset where he's focused on us practicing group economics on the continent. So he actually made a connection with a tribal chief in the Jahadzi area, which is outside of Cape Coast and about an hour and a half away from Accra.
Okay.
And I forget the amount of acreage. I don't have it in front of me right now, but there's 3 phases to that project: residential, commercial, and industrial. And the last phase is close to the beach area. So the plan is to build like a beach resort type of community, hotels, residential. So I actually have a plot of land, one of the first plots that I plan on purchasing. So I'm in that phase, dipping my toes in the water. It's not easy on the continent because things aren't as structured as they are in the US. So it's important to get with people who kind of navigated through that process, because you don't want to purchase something and then somebody comes back, a family member, oh, this is my land, and then you lose your money. So that was important to me, to find somebody that's actually done it, and just to feel more secure about doing business there.
Absolutely. So your interest in the continent began with, how did you begin to have interest in doing business in Africa and purchasing property there?
Well, to be honest with you, I always was looking for a plan B. So
Okay.
my reawakening of Pan-Africanism kind of came on the heels of, I was originally looking at other places outside of the US to invest, and to plan for my, retirement, so to speak, well, semi-retirement. I don't really want to retire. I have some things that I'm working on in terms of projects, but I was looking at the Dominican Republic, and then I was looking at Panama. Actually took a trip to Panama last year, no, the year before last, and just trying to convince my wife, hey, we need to plan for something outside of the US with the current climate. And then one of the YouTubers that I would watch a lot is a Nigerian guy called Jubril. I forget his last name, but his brand online is Passport Heavy, and he focuses on Black people getting their passports and actually traveling and experiencing the world. So he did a promo. Well, it wasn't even a promo because he wasn't asked. He's asked now to go to these different countries because his videos are so, the production quality is excellent. So he did one on Ghana. And when I saw that, I'm like, that's Ghana? It looked like a street off of Fifth Avenue in New York, where I'm originally from. And it kind of piqued my interest. And I think a lot of people have that idea that Africa's all about starving children with flies and swollen bellies. And there is wealth there. There is growth. Obviously, it's not the growth that we would like to see, but I think economically, pre-COVID, at least 3 or 4 of the fastest growing countries were on the continent,
Right.
GDP-wise. So that kind of piqued my interest, and it kind of reawakened my Pan-African mind. I always had the vision and dream that Africa, once it can get its act together, it can be an economic powerhouse on the global stage. And then being in that algorithm, I came across some of the other content creators, Wodi Maya, who's a famous one there. And then Dr. Arikana popped up and just became hooked in terms of the truth that she speaks. And that, in turn, being on one of those calls, I wound up meeting Peter Greer. I'm asking, is anybody in the North Carolina area? I'm interested in, working on a chapter in this area to help with the movement.
Excellent. Excellent. Peter, you want to?
Well, I certainly want to comment. And when I meet people and try and interest them in what it is we're doing, I tell them what I think about Dr. Arikana. And I tell them that I think that Dr. Arikana is the most consequential Black leader in the world today, and the most consequential leader since Martin Luther King here in America and Kwame Nkrumah in the motherland. And so what we are urging is that people join ADDI, support Dr. Arikana. Africa is our motherland. Africa is our birthright. And we need to embrace our responsibility to help with the development of Africa. We need to teach our children that Africa is theirs, it's their birthright, and certainly this should be a part of the enormous opportunities that are in the motherland. And what Dr. Arikana is trying to do is help Black people come to the continent and take advantage of the tremendous business opportunities. And what we're trying to do with this podcast is to continue to dialogue with people that are there or want to go there and want to do business there, so that we can explore some of the risks and some of the rewards, and hopefully connect our listeners with enough information to enable them to make solid business decisions. And Gary, one of the things that I obviously want you to speak to is the need for Black chambers to help introduce our business community to the opportunities in Africa. And before you do that, Gary, how about telling our listening audience a little bit of background information about you and your business history and your organizational involvement so that they can get a feel for who we are and uh, hopefully build some
Sure.
confidence in what we bring to them.
Absolutely, Peter. And I'm a 30-year plus entrepreneur. Published at Black Pages for 30 years in up and down the Southeast region in the United States. I was also president of the Black Chamber, obviously in Wilmington, and also state of North Carolina. Helped form the Winston-Salem Black Chamber in North Carolina as well. And now, more recently, I co-founded and co-chair the Greensboro Business League, which is an advocacy business organization focusing on African American business. And one of the things, Peter, that's so interesting is the economic sort of layout and infrastructure of the continent. And as Darren stated earlier, Ghana, Accra, these are some fast-growing emerging economies, and we need to be aware of the expertise and the sort of intelligence we can bring to some of our brothers and sisters in the continent, and be able to share ideas and eventually create the kind of platform and economy that's robust where we can trade and do business with each other, because we need trading partners across the globe, and we don't have enough of that. We don't talk about enough of that. And I think that's the real key about this program, is that we're able to share information and insight about what our experiences are and how we can lend expertise to our brothers and sisters in the continent.
Thank you, Darren.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's about creating global economic trade lines. And Dr. Arakana talks about what she's seeing on the continent in terms of other cultures. That's why the importance is now more important than ever. And she talks about the resources that are actually available on the continent. If someone from Germany or France comes to the continent, they actually have a German or a French hotel owner. They have a family that they'll connect them with the same amount of children that they're coming to the continent. So those resources are already there for them, but we lack that. And those are some of the things that she's trying to put into place. So that's what the network that we're building within ADDI is all about. And as we know, it's international now. So we're still in a growth and building stage, but I'm optimistic about what we can accomplish.
And I'm optimistic. I would like to um, suggest that anyone or persons that hear us and appreciate what it is that we're talking about and want to continue to receive this kind of information, please like this video, share the video, make comments. We're interested in people that have questions, ideas, and opinions. So if you put those in your comments, our YouTube channel is Greater Diversity News. So we have other videos from that relate to ADDI, and so please, we're just getting started. But anything that you can do to help us, please join in and do so. Like, subscribe, and share our content. And by all means, leave comments so that we'll know what it is that you want us to touch on, and we'll try to accommodate you.
But Peter, one thing I want to add too is with 1.3 billion people in Africa, which is the second largest continent, GDP is probably on the low end, maybe 3.8 trillion up to 8 trillion when you start putting the multiplier effect. As you know, America is the largest economy in the world at some 24 trillion, and then comes China. I would think over the next 10 to 15 years, the numbers for Africa is going to triple. because of the interest in the economy, the number of young people in the continent, and also those fast-growing emerging markets that Darren spoke about, particularly when you talk about Nigeria, you talk about Egypt, you talk about South Africa, so on and so forth, Ghana, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need to pay close attention to where people, certainly Black people, African people from the U.S. are beginning to look at opportunities, across the pond. So I would say we need to pay close attention to that and understand the politics of what's going on as well, because that's a key factor in developing relationships with our friends and brothers and sisters in the continent.
Anything else from you, Darren, before we wrap it up? I want to keep our videos
No, I
15 to
agree.
25 minutes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I think Kathy Hughes, that owns TV One Media, has a phrase, and I'm not sure if it comes from somebody else in history, but she says the dissemination of information is key to our liberation. And I think we need to keep disseminating the information. We see movement taking place now. There's an economic free trade zone that Dr. Arikana talks about that's on the continent now. There's going to be a gold rush of other people. There's already multinational companies there now because they know, as Jerry said, what the landscape looks like going ahead. There's a reason for that, but we just have to be aware of it and be able to leverage it and take advantage of it.
Thank you. And in closing, I would like to invite our North Carolina residents to join us in our monthly ADDI meetings. Again, if you're interested in more information, go to the comment section and put a request in, and I'll add you to our list. Otherwise, gentlemen, I thank you for participating, and we're going to have Darren again and Gary being my co-host. Of course, we have other guests that we will be inviting so that we can grow this conversation and help bring liberation to the motherland. So again, thanks and have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forward to it.